We've got the Bengals going on the road to Buffalo to play the Bills in this AFC divisional round matchup this weekend. Who do you think is going to advance to the AFC Championship game and why?
Another game, like I said before, that I've been debating back and forth with and thinking about. Unfortunately, I have to go against my boy because Kyle and I did make the prediction that Buffalo was going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm going to stand by that statement because I firmly believe that Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I feel like this defense is going to find a way to adjust. And I also feel like this is not going to be the same game that they had against Miami. I don't think that Cincinnati has the pass rush that Miami did. I don't think that Cincinnati is going to be able to make Josh turn the ball over as much as he did. I mean, Cincinnati struggled against a backup quarterback as well. Cincinnati has injuries on the offensive line as well. I don't know what you're thinking. Josh Allen was sacked 7 times last week, too. Joe Burrow was sacked 4 times. He was hit 6 times. He was pressured throughout the game. They couldn't run the ball at all. We all know Buffalo was able to shut Miami's rush offense as well in terms of limiting them in rushing yards per carry as well as total. So I think that that's a perfect formula. Fix up some of those mistakes, clean up some of those play calls to put Josh in those bad situations, and you have yourself a great game. I think that the wide receiver matchups are great across the board. You have Stephon Diggs on one side, Jamar Chase on the other, Dawson Knox, Hayden Hurst, Joe Mixon, Singletary. I mean, it's going to be a great game no matter what. I just think that Buffalo's defense is better than Cincinnati's. And I think that with the injuries to the offensive line, Joe Burrow is going to struggle. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a turnover of his own, if not two. I think that they're going to be struggling to rush that ball and create a run game of sorts because they have not been able to get Joe Mixon into a rhythm over the course of the last few weeks. I think that, of course, as I've said the last couple weeks, last month or so, the DeMar Hamlin situation has Buffalo riding a high, a motivational factor, so to speak. And I think that they are going to try to win this year for him as well as for their own aspirations. I mean, you obviously aim every year to win a Super Bowl, but when you have something like that in your corner, an emotional support system, whatever you want to call it, that pushes you a little bit extra. And then when you have a game as bad as Josh Allen did last week against a team he should not have struggled against, I think mentally he's going to look at it and say, I can't mess this up again. I can't have errors like I did last week. I want to face Patrick Mahomes in that next round. I want to go to a Super Bowl. I want to show everybody that I can be that quarterback. And, we all know that Joe Burrow has the capabilities, but we all know that offensive line you live and die by. So if you're going to be pressured and you're going to be if you're hurting like that all game, I think that that's going to be the formula for failure. And if you're going to sit there and ask Joe to throw that ball 40 to 50 times, that's just more dropbacks for him to get pressured, potentially hurt and hit. And if you become one-dimensional, you just drop back everybody into zone coverage and watch him make some mistakes. So, again, this was a tough pick for me. I think that Buffalo wins a close one as well. I think it's going to be somewhere along the lines of maybe 6 to 10 points, 7 to 10 points, because Buffalo might pull away depending on what happens. But I got the Bills advancing to the AFC Championship. I think this is going to be a consistency over the next 5 to 10 years. You're going to see this rotate between Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen on a consistent basis. We had Mahomes versus Burrow last year, and we may even get Mahomes versus Allen this year in another rematch. But as of right now, in this divisional game, I have the Bills moving forward into the AFC Championship.
Showing no loyalty to your boy whatsoever. How
I'm showing
dare
loyalty.
you?
I'm showing loyalty to my initial preseason pick. I'm not changing up. I firmly stand by it.
How you gonna go against your boy like that? How?
I think I said why. Don't fuck with me right now.
I'm just playing. But no, Kev, I'm with you 100% on this one. I'm going with the Bills in a very competitive game. I think this has the potential to be the best game of the weekend as far as I see it. And like I said at the lead up, when you got Joe Burrow going up against Josh Allen, I mean, that's going to bring in TV ratings unlike anything that we probably will see this upcoming regular, not regular, but postseason stretch. But no, for this game, I'm going with the Bills. I think it's going to be a close one nonetheless, though. So one of the things that I want to focus on with the Bills here is their turnovers. Their turnovers have been the biggest impediment for this team the entire year. The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL, not only the AFC, just the NFL to a larger extent. But one of their biggest slowdowns has been they've been way too turnover prone this year. And I mean, we could take last week for example, but I mean, last week was really just kind of it was just another example of the entire season has been predicated on so many turnovers. Even though this team is successful and they're one of the best teams in the NFL, it is kind of crazy to look at this team and it's like, yeah, they're succeeding, but it's like there's something still missing. Like they're not running and gunning at like the highest degree possible simply just because they're making so many mistakes game in and game out. And a lot of that is predicated on Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen has had multiple turnovers in the red zone this year. And, there's a good chance that that could actually happen again going up against the Bengals. It's just, even though that I'm picking the Bills, it's just like they have to fix their turnover issue. And if they don't, that issue could rear its ugly head and really swing the momentum in favor of the Bengals in this game. And that's really one of the things that I want to mention. If the Bengals are going to win this game, it's going to be because they're going to force not one turnover, but they could potentially force multiple turnovers against the Bills. And trust me, Joe Burrow leading that offense could definitely put points up on the board against the Bills in that game. However, like you said, Kev, I do think that Josh Allen and that Bills offense, they are going to make those adjustments from last week and avoid those turnovers that really stymied them as a whole in that second half. Because, I mean, there was at one point the Dolphins were winning that game in the second half, and then Josh Allen and that offense finally got it together, and the defense stepped up to make some plays at the end to get them that win. But, you cannot have those mistakes going up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals, because the Bengals as a whole, they're one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They won the AFC North. They pretty much had one of the best second half season performances compared to any other team. And they beat some really good teams along the way, including the number one seed in the Chiefs. So the Bills know what they're going up against. And as far as I see it, obviously the offense has to limit the turnovers, but defensively, I think they have to bring that pass rush home against Joe Burrow. And I will say, with the offensive line issues once again stymieing the Bengals, this has kind of been just a repeat issue for the Bengals since Joe Burrow's arrived to Cincinnati. Their offensive line is always dealing with some sort of issue. Last year, they couldn't protect him in any way, shape, or form. This year, it seems to be their offensive line just can't avoid injuries. And unfortunately, the injury bug has plagued them. And honestly, I think that's why that factored in the reason why they were so close to losing to the Ravens last week. The Ravens really gave them a run for their money last week and damn near beat them in the process. So I think if the Bills are smart, they try to get that pass rush home. If they can't sack him, get the hurries, get the pressures, try to get in Joe Burrow's face to force some errant passes, and then maybe some turnovers can fall in favor of the Bills. I think that's really going to be the name of the game here for that Bills defense. And I think they have the tenacity and they have the requisite pieces to be able to do that. Obviously, if they had Von Miller, I think it would be better, but not having him in the roster simply because of that torn ACL injury that he sustained, they're going to have to find different pieces to come up and make those plays. So I think Matt Milano could definitely bring an impact. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Poyer is great in the secondary as well. He's one of the best safeties in the league. And I wouldn't be surprised if he could get his hands on a turnover in that game as well. But I think this is going to be a great game. It's going to come down to the wire. I think this is going to be one of those games where who's going to have the ball last? I think Josh Allen and the Bills are going to be in that position. I think they're going to get possibly the game-winning touchdown or game-winning field goal to settle it. And then I think the Bills will advance to the AFC Championship game. I have them winning this game by about 3 or 4 points. If I had to put a score on it, I'm going to say they win this one by the score of 30-27. I think this is going to be a relatively high-scoring game. I think both offenses are going to be able to move the ball up and down the field. It's just, I think the Bills are just going to squeak by in this one to get to the AFC Championship game, where I think more than likely they will probably play the Kansas City Chiefs unless the Jags pull off one of the upsets of the year and beat Kansas City on the road. But more than likely, I think we'll have a KC and Buffalo AFC Championship game to decide who's going to go to the Super Bowl to represent the AFC. That's just how I see it.